Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name's Jen and today I'm going to be giving you a full review of Vego Garden's self-watering wicking cells. I'll start by walking through all the features and how it's supposed to work, then we'll install it in my new raised bed, and then I'll show you how it works. I've been testing it on another raised bed for a week now, so you can see what I like and don't like about it at the end. Let's get right into it. So for starters, it's a two-part system. This is two pieces. The bottom is the reservoir. This is supposed to be filled up with water or any excess water when you're watering the raised bed and maybe overdoing it. It collects down here. Then this part is the wicking cells. You can see how it's designed to let the roots come through. So how you're going to set it up is press your soil into those cells, and then the plants and the roots will grow all the way down, and the roots will reach through these and into the water reservoir. So it's supposed to help build really strong roots because they'll reach all the way down to the bottom of the raised bed. And it's supposed to help water efficiency because it collects any overwatering instead of letting it drain out the bottom of the raised bed. It also, if you notice the height of this, it's about I don't know, I'd say like 6 inches or so, maybe 5 inches. This is going to reduce the volume in your raised bed that you need to fill with soil. So instead of potentially saving money by using the log filling method, the Hogelkultur, however you say it, method of filling your raised bed, you could use self-watering wicking cells, get some watering efficiency out of it, and reduce the amount of soil you need in your raised bed. So there's also these corner pieces that help. You can see it's a rounded circle. These are supposed to help connect them and fill in any of those gaps when you're installing it in the raised bed. I was actually very hesitant to buy this product from Vego Garden because they didn't design in a way for somebody to feel like they were either filling it up with water, like some of them on the market, they'll have a pipe that sticks up and you fill that up. Or they also didn't have a gauge that shows you how much water is in the reservoir at any point in time. So if you look at their website and you look at their self-watering planters for the tomatoes or the herbs, they basically work the same way. They have the reservoir, they have the wicking cells, and then they have this section on the side where you fill it up with water and then a gauge so you can see when you're done filling it up, or when it's time to fill it up, right? So that was one of my hesitancies about this product. I bought it anyway because honestly I didn't want to route my water all the way over there and do drip irrigation. I thought I would give this a shot, and the way that I figured I would get around the gauge issue, I wanted a gauge in the design but it wasn't there, so I bought this moisture meter on Amazon and it's actually been working really well for me. So let's go over there, install these in the raised bed. I'll fill it up with water, fill the raised bed with soil, and then I'll show you how I use the moisture meter on one of my other raised beds that also uses the wicking cells. So we're out on the side of my yard. We're going to fill this raised bed with the wicking cells, and these two raised beds I've done over the past week, and they're also using the self-watering wicking cells in them. So I'll show you those in a little bit. Right now, let's get to the installation. You can buy one that's meant for a 2 foot by 2 foot herb garden, and it's just this one reservoir and wicking cell. But what I've got here is a 2 foot by 8 foot raised bed, and so I got the 2 foot by 8 foot size in the wicking cells. So we're going to start by installing all of the trays. I'm going to push it so it's just under this ledge right here. Now I may have done something dumb by doing the support stakes on the raised bed first. We'll see. No, it's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about support stakes. Okay, I want you to be able to see what I'm doing with pressing it down so the reservoir sits right underneath this nut and bolt. It'll help kind of pin it in place. Okay, so now I've got all the reservoirs in place. I'm going to go ahead and put the wicking cells right on top. And placement right now doesn't need to be perfect because I'm going to go back in with these corner pieces and adjust everything. I will say I went through the effort of making sure the soil on the bottom of the raised bed was pretty level, because I want them all kind of at the same level, because these corner pieces connect them. You don't want a situation where one is here and one is here, right? Now we're going to install these corner pieces. You can see there's a flat piece. This goes against the back side of the raised bed. And this part that has like the lip, this is what connects, or this is what kind of, it connects to the reservoir. And it actually fits really well. There's 2 per side. You can see that seal is actually pretty good. They even say it's such a good seal that you can put this on a patio or something. I think they have a rolling self-watering planter that uses the same thing. Okay, that's it for the installation, but now we've got to fill it up with water. I've done this on 2 other raised beds already, so I know by now that it takes probably 15 minutes to fill it all the way up with water. Now, you don't have to fill it up with water at this point, but I did because I don't want to end up in a situation where I filled it up with soil, compost, mulch, and seedlings, and I didn't even figure out if I had enough water in it, you know? So I'm going to go ahead and fill it up with water. It takes about 15 minutes. Just going to speed through that part. Now, while that water is filling up, let's look at this moisture meter. It basically has a red area that says dry, a green area that says moist, and a blue area that says wet. We haven't had rain in a few days, and I haven't watered this raised bed in a few days either. So let's put it in there and see what it's measuring at. You should know too that I added some peat moss in with my soil for better water retention, because I wanted to make sure that I was maximizing that capillary action that the soil could do to bring the water up to the roots, because I was a little nervous about how long it might take for my new seedlings to grow roots long enough to reach down into those self-watering wicking cells. Now I leave it in there for a little while to try to stabilize, but you can see it's right there in the blue area, the wet region. So it looks like I don't have to do any watering. If anything, I should let it dry out and get down into the green area. I also would recommend sampling a few different spots depending on the size of your raised bed. Maybe one spot is fine if it's a 2 foot by 2 foot raised bed, but this is the 2 foot by 8 foot raised bed. So I'm going to do one on this half and one measurement over here, and so far they've been consistent, but it's just something that I want to make sure, because I've got different plants that are soaking up the water differently, and I'm not sure if the soil is going to be the same across the raised bed. You can see the plants like the butternut squash, and soybeans actually look pretty happy. It doesn't look like anything's overly dry. I think there's some caterpillar damage right now, but nothing alarming actually, so it seems to be working well. This is about 2 weeks in on this raised bed. Now this one looks like it's stabilizing at wet number 10, where the other side of the raised bed was stable at wet number 9. So this side's a little more wet, which I think just means that these plants are soaking up less water than these plants, or it means there's more plants over here. Now this raised bed is a little bit different. Instead of transplanting my seedlings, I actually direct sowed a bunch of soybeans, black-eyed peas, and okra, butternut squash, and Seminole pumpkins over there. And what's interesting is I watered them in right after I sowed the seeds, and I haven't touched it again. This was a little bit more than a week ago, and it looks like it's holding water well enough to water fresh seedlings, which was another thing I was kind of worried about, right? The young seedlings and how deep those roots would go. It looks like this one's kind of stabilizing at wet number 8. So I just plan to use this moisture meter to keep an eye on how much water's in it and then manually water when I need it. But so far, I actually really like these self-watering wicking cells, and I didn't think I would. It's also worth noting that it is June 2nd here in Central Florida. The days are in the high 80s or the 90s for the temperature, and it hasn't started the rainy season yet, so we've got a lot of heat going on. I've got well mulched beds, and the water seems to be doing great. Right now, at the beginning, I'm gonna try to not water until the water level or the moisture meter puts me in that green area that says moist. And then once I get to that point, I think I'm gonna be watering probably twice a week in these raised beds in the heat of the summer. In the cooler months, I think I could probably get away with once a week or once every 10 days or something like that. All right, so we're all the way full of water. You can see I filled it up here on all of the cells, and also these corners are full of water. Now it's time to put the soil in. Now here's what I mean about spreading out the soil, and then I'm going to just kind of press it down all around to try to fill those cells with soil. You don't want a bunch of air gaps in your soil. It's better to just do this. I'm also going to go and mix in some peat moss just to help the water retention qualities, which I think is especially important with these wicking cells. Now I wish it said something like that in the instructions or on the website, but it doesn't. It's going to take me a little while to fill up that raised bed, so I'm going to go ahead and finish. I'm going to top it with some compost and then mulch, and then I'm going to sow some seeds or maybe transplant some sweet potato slips in there. Overall, I think these self-watering wicking cells will help my watering situation in the raised beds tremendously, but I would say I cannot be comfortable using it without a moisture meter, unless you're going to go out there and try to gauge it with your, just feel by sticking in your finger in the soil or something like that. You need a way to figure out if you have enough moisture throughout the raised bed and when it's time to water. So I wish Vego Garden would design something like that in, and maybe design in like a pipe where you can pour into the reservoirs. But for now, I love this product. I'm happy I bought it. If you're thinking about buying these self-watering wicking cells from Vego Garden, I hope this video was helpful in figuring out how to install it, answer some of your questions about how wet the soil will stay. Let me know in the comments if you guys have similar thoughts or hesitations about buying something like this. That's it for today's video, and I'll see you guys next time.